Over 1,000 views, 100 likes, and 100 subs for my first video. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. More videos on Rusty Lake and other stuff will be out soon. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to support my channel. And you can follow me on social media if you want to as well. But now it's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Rusty Lake Timeline Part 2. Hey guys, it's RazJazz. So last time when we talked about Rusty Lake, we were on Rusty Lake Paradise. But if we remember, Rusty Lake doesn't necessarily follow a chronological order with its games. So let's revisit our little game order. If you haven't played Rusty Lake, follow in this order. But we're not going to do that. We're going chronological, so our next game is Roots. Wait, there's two events that take place before Rusty Lake Roots. The first one is in 1799 in winter, which is when Aldous Vanderboom, also known as Mr. Crow, is born. And on the 30th of March in 1853, Vincent van Gogh, the famous artist, is born. Alright, back to Roots. Rusty Lake Roots is my favorite game, so I have a little bit of bias, and I'm going to have a lot of fun dissecting this. But first, we're going to go to the end of the game actually, because as I said, Rusty Lake isn't necessarily chronological. So we start in 1859. But wait, no, we can't go there yet. First, we need to go back to all the puzzles to get the emblems to unlock that secret level. As you can see, you get these emblems from different timeline points within the family tree. And knowing Rusty Lake, we of course need something as crazy as this.
My daughter will return to Rusty Lake.
Now see, that's foreshadowing, because Rose's daughter is Laura, which is the reincarnated William Vanderboom. That'll make sense later. But this is Aldous Vanderboom, who we're seeing from William's perspective, so they're brothers. And this is the Vanderboom family seal. It's very interesting to note the choices that were on it. Now if you look at this room, you can see that there's different Easter eggs that can be crafted before you make the elixir, but ultimately the elixir is what William and Aldous want to create.
You drink first, brother. Don't worry, we are always here in our past and future lives. Better give me the seed. The fate of Rusty Lake lies in this small seed. I have to leave now. Mr. Owl needs me. But we will meet again, in this life or the next.
Aldous becomes Mr. Crow, William dies, and we get a hint that Mr. Crow and William actually knew Mr. Owl, even this early in the timeline. All of this sets us up for the beginning of the game.
Rusty Lake, spring, 1860. James Vanderboom arrived at Rusty Lake. His uncle had just passed away under mysterious circumstances. James was his uncle's only heir. He had no idea of the events that would change his life.
Okay, it's been a year, and now we're in James' shoes. And James gets a letter that informs him that William has passed away, the death that we witness in the ending that actually took place before all of this. The special seed quite literally represents the family tree, which will parallel the growth of the actual Vanderboom family. Thanks to our trusty doggy, we're able to plant the tree and begin the family tree. James watches in awe, but has no idea what he has just brought to life. Spring 1860, the house. So James got a plant, but he didn't get his own house keys, so now he has to play some sort of scavenger hunt. I don't know whose house needs diamonds to unlock it, but hey, I guess live your life. And we also get a visit from Mr. Crow. You could interpret this as Mr. Crow observing his brother, helping his soul come back to life. Because, spoiler alert, as we will find out later, we are playing as William's corrupted soul. With that done, we finally get to see the interior of the house. As we enter, summer 1860. So the house hasn't been left in the best condition, as you can see with blood handprints all across the wall. And you also get to see a photo of the two alchemist brothers. With the painting taken down, you can see the organs needed later. We get to see a bit of foreshadowing as we see James dreaming about a lovely lady. Why are there so many bloody handprints all over this house? Anyway, the timepiece is also found. These are also foreshadowed in terms of the storyline. Once the clock is visited in the room, we find a really interesting sight. We enter an unexpected place. You know, I really appreciate Rusty Lake because even anatomy in that universe is pretty strange. As we exit, we find the most shocking thing of all, which is that James is still asleep through all of this, and still sleeping about his love. The heart of William Vanderboom is dropped into a jar, and then we start to see a sinister picture unfolding. Right as we get to the main menu, we see that the tree grows, but then we see a very interesting thing pop up as well. A grocery list of organ sacrifices, nice and neat and organized by name, as we can see with the heart of William Vanderboom. Now that we have William's heart, we must get a new heart. A heart that will be captured by love in the summer of 65. I mean, what spells romantic more than inviting your love to your house, giving her a flower, having her nose bleed, taking her blood, using it to write a love letter. I mean, a pretty blunt marriage proposal at that. And it somehow works. I guess this is true love in some creepy way. Oh wait, you forgot your ring. Well, don't worry, Mr. Crow's out here looking out for you. And you get a used ring on a severed hand. How lovely. Poor lady has no idea what she's just got herself into. The tree grows once again, and we find out her name, Mary. We've only known her a bit, and now the next moment we see her, she's pregnant. I mean, it has been 2 years since they've been engaged. Mary seems to crave some weird substance in a spoon, and so we need to give it to her. But what is it? What could it be? What could it be? I don't know. Oh, hi, doggy. Well, there's a plant over there. Once you grind it up, you get birth potion. Alright, I guess this will make her deliver birth right now. Oh, 2. Oh, 3 triplets. Well, of course, there's 3 beds over there. And the placenta. Wonderful. So now we need to feed the 3 babies, but Mary only gives us 1 bottle of milk. So we need to get 2 other ones, water and wine. And guess what? If we look at the birth certificates, we see the names of the triplets, and that one gets milk, one gets water, and one gets wine. This can also be seen as foreshadowing, because Emma later becomes malnourished and Albert becomes a psychopath. I'm so sorry, I really don't want to feed these babies this, but you have to progress the gameplay and to get the storyline going. Now that that's dealt with, we go back to James in summer of 1870, the staircase. While Mary is dealing with the children, James sneaks away and is doing some mysterious things, looking for some sort of secret tunnel. Even behind a family photo, there's clues hidden within a picture frame. A closer look shows that the book is by William Vanderboom, the alchemist, and that it's talking about the elixir that we saw at the beginning of this timeline video. He's after the elixir, for sure. Scanning the room more closely, looking out the window, we see Rusty Lake Hotel. Mr. Rabbit, Miss Pigeon, Mr. Boar, Mr. Crow, and as well we can see Mr. Deer and Miss Pheasant. Not just an Easter egg, this plays a key role in discovering the secret tunnel that James is looking for. And down we go. Notice how the spiraling staircase looks like a shell, a common motif in the Rusty Lake games. Once again, the tree grows, and we are met with the next timeline point. Summer 1870, the elixir. The placement of the square indicates that we are underground, which is where the downstairs staircase led us to. James is looking for that elixir that he found in one of the alchemist brothers' journals, and so he begins. He starts experimenting with drops and looks at a puzzle and finally figures out the concoction that will make the elixir of life and death. It seems you need 2 people to drink the elixir. One will immediately die while the other becomes immortal. Looking at the family coat of arms again, you can see that crow and egg and the elixir as well, which we now see James making. James decides to test it on his own dog, and his dog doesn't actually die. So James has no choice to drink it and die a sudden death, but serves him right for trying to kill his own dog. And unfortunately, this will not be the only death that we will see within this family tree. What happens next? Well, now we have to see James get embalmed. But at that wake, we need to do something specific. The corrupted soul of William continues his journey messing with the family tree, now visiting his dead nephew. Even the statue represents William, and the 10 sacrifices shown within this picture show what he needs to be brought back to life, as Mr. Crow had foreshadowed. With the sacrificial knife, the first sacrifice that is not William's own organ is gathered to begin the quest for his rebirth. And there we have it. The second sacrifice, the tongue of James Vanderboom. Only 8 more to go. 1876, Child's Play. So now that their dad is dead, the children are playing along. But unfortunately, things aren't going so well as they should be for kids their age. Poor Albert just wants a butterfly. But his messed up siblings taunt him and don't even let him play with it, going as far as to even capture it within a jar. Pretty messed up. And really, this just shows how messed up the Vanderboom family is. Like, where is their mom? And Albert, yeah, he begins a very unhealthy journey to want to get revenge on his siblings, including wanting them both dead. While he hears their taunting laughs, something's observing in the background, Mr. Crow. That's your spark notes for the rest of their lives. Now we quite literally branch into the 3 siblings, starting with Emma. In spring of 1884, fertility. See, Emma has a different approach to carrying out the family tree. Not like her dad who had to seek out the mom, but her approach is a little more interesting, let's say. She does some relaxing gardening work, but then something very interesting happens, as you'll see. Yes, that's right. You just saw her get pregnant from a flower. And that's not even the weirdest thing that happens in this game. Moving from the water-drinking baby to her wine-drinking sibling, I'm sure this can't go too wrong. Spring 1885, masks. Albert has a very interesting setup going on, and he seems to still be wanting that butterfly from when he was a kid. And off we go. Albert is on his trip to become a weatherman, predicting the rain, seeing Mr. Crow along the way, and as well he sees other weathers as well, including the nice snow. And when he sees that, he also sees Mr. Crow as well. Once he finally sees Mr. Crow for the last time, he finds a moon mask, and then a new adventure begins. Going past the whole weather-making duties, he now is ready to do a psychopath duty, where he sees the moon similar to how Laura had seen it in Cube Escape Seasons. A corrupted soul, seemingly Williams, or your characters, helps Albert finally get his butterfly back. Yeah, as we can see, Albert's officially losing it, but once we're done with Albert, it's time to see the last triplet, Samuel. Samuel sees a poster with Ida on it, who will be his future wife. Fixing the clock that was broken by his uncle's dead body, he's able to get it back together and working again. And once that occurs, he's finally able to see something. The woman that was on his poster is now at his windowsill. Giving him a trusty cigar or pipe, he takes it and now is ready to start an interesting journey by witnessing the fortune-telling of Ida. Now, if it isn't clear by now, Ida is about to be in the family tree, as shown in her portrait. Summer 1889, the fortune teller. So Ida is actually in the backyard, which is pretty funny because if you've noticed so far, every event is taking place within the house of the Vanderbooms, even Emma's fertility and Albert's little weird ceremony. As you can see with Ida, she seems to be able to show a crystal ball where she does her fortune telling gig. The first time I played the game, I didn't even notice this stuff until I took notes and came back to it later. All of these events will of course be covered once we get to them. But for now, here's a sneak peek of what happens to the Vanderbooms. Ladies and gentlemen, Ida Vanderboom. Back at the cards again, Ida actually does more fortune telling. And with all of this in mind and how she knows that she'll die if she joins the family, it's kind of crazy that she just decides to stick with them anyway. But with her knowledge, I guess it shows that the fate is fate and it can't really be changed within the Rusty Lake universe. Welcome to the family, Ida. You kind of brought this on yourself. Now that we're done with Ida, it's time to revisit Albert. But Albert is now with Emma's son, so his nephew. And let's just say he's not the best uncle. It starts out looking innocent. Albert just wants a pumpkin, and his nephew just wants a little teddy bear to keep him company. Once Albert puts on a mask, then you know it's going south. Next, he takes revenge on his sister. Yep, he really just did that, and now we get to fall 1891, the search. Poor Emma does not have any idea where her son could be. It's very sad for her to be doing all of this work to try and find him, when we, as the audience, know that her son is actually in the well right in her backyard. For some reason, she asks her son to find her in the stars. Where could he be? She looks through the telescope with the clues that she has found, and she finds Rusty Lake Hotel. A familiar bright white light flashes up as seen in other games, and we see Harvey, who is confirmed to be at this time. But that makes sense, because we see him in Rusty Lake Hotel 2 years later in 1893. The letter is given to Harvey. We'll see his perspective in Rusty Lake Hotel, which will be the topic of the next timeline part. See you guys in that one!